Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, America's Cup fans. What a wild and wacky day that was on the water for all four teams that were remaining in the semi-finals, and the semi-finals roll on, but not for us. Luckily, we got that vital point against Alinghi to progress through to the Louis Vuitton Cup final, which we are over the moon about, as you can imagine. But we'll take this moment to say a huge congratulations to Alinghi for their campaign. We sent our designers and shore team up to clap them into the dock. As always, personally, I think, and everyone here at Ineos Britannia thinks, the America's Cup is a richer place for having Alinghi in there, and we've heard rumours that they might be going again, and we certainly hope that that is true. And we have to take this moment to send our respects and love to Gauthier Sargent's family, who was a sail designer with us in the last America's Cup and was with Alinghi in this iteration, and sadly lost his life during this America's Cup. And all of our love in the world goes to him and his family, and full respect to Alinghi. So great battling out there over the last few days in particular. Chaps, wowee, that was, I mean, I'm an emotional so-and-so, but that was a day of ups and downs, let's say, Giles.
It was.
Kind of try and summarise those two races. Let's just roll straight into our races to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, it's super close racing, and as you said, the conditions were tricky for like, every team was struggling with it, and it's the same with these long range shots. They very rarely do the sea stay any justice. It was bumpy, sloppy, and when it's light like that, it's so tricky for all the guys on board. Yeah, tricky day, and we had a not so good and a good, really. That's our summary.
Yeah. That sounds really simple. It didn't seem that simple in my head. There was, as soon as we kind of sheeted on and got out there, and anything ranging between below 7 knots, and early on we were yachting round in 12s with that sea state as Giles referenced, we knew we had a job on, basically, didn't we?
Yeah, certainly Alinghi have shown a lot of performance in the big waves with their big foils and slippery bustle. So quite a tricky day for us and stressful days, and you lads pulled some big watts to pull us out the woodwork, because certainly we had some moments today.
Yeah. Yes, we did have some moments. So let's crack on with looking at the first pre-start here, Giles. At this moment, Alinghi were looking for a win to stay alive, and we were looking for a win to close out the series.
Yeah, we're port entry here, and Dill, help me out here. I always struggle to remember these. Everything merges into one. But this was this a tack round?
Did we tack round?
Yes, we tack round. There you go.
Yeah, we did tack round. Yeah.
It was a circle, yeah.
Tack round, and just about windy enough this race to get the circle in and follow back right. And
that was it. We went. Yeah, we went past. Yeah. I think it was quite. In reality, it felt like an easier decision, but I think that Alinghi afterwards discussed that they really wanted the left-hand side.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I think they were sort of pushing for that pin end, and they actually looked a lot better than I first thought along here, and we certainly weren't strong.
Yeah. Well, we'd normally be pretty happy with that as a starting place, but you could see Alinghi did a good job there, got the jump with the boat speeds, and managed to trigger with maybe 2 knots more boat speed than what we were at the starboard end. And yeah, interesting, as you say, they were kind of hedging that way for the left hand side.
And Dill's rolling into the first beat and listening to the comms on the boat, and having been on for the warm up, she was a tricky boat to lock in today, like to find its groove, and I'm sure that was the same across all teams because of the aforementioned sea state and light breeze. But it certainly was a test of reactive sailing, reactive trims, reactive piloting, and it was hard to get the boat. We sailed the boat to targets, and a lot of conversation around that as well.
Yeah, it's difficult to sail the yachts when it's that wavy, and especially in the lighter conditions. You're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place with the clearance between the boat and the water, the bustle, and then the amount of cant, how wide that arm is, effectively how much righting moment we get. So you really, feels like you're in a rock and a hard place, and there's a bit of action when we lost the rudder. Yeah, that was certainly not our finest moment, losing the rudder. So it was probably something that I did wrong.
So that's that's the first downwind. We led to the first gate, Giles, and we led them out to boundary. We had a 6-second lead at the top gate.
Yeah.
And then it came down to that jibe on boundary.
Yeah, and you know, just seen it there, and as Dill referenced, the jibe exits on these boats in the light wind, the balance and the load the rudder sees is so critical. And this isn't a problem that you know, we're not the only team fighting this problem. We've seen every team out there have moments like that. And yeah, it's really fine margins, turn rates, cant angles, trims. It's all got to come. It's all got to come good.
But Dylan, credit where credit's due. Ilingi in that race sailed better than us, right? That's the fact of the matter.
Yeah, they sailed better than us, and after that we sort of came into them, but they kind of had the racing control, and we took a bit of a risk at the last beat to try and get the mark and win, and didn't pay off. But in reality, the game was done by then.
Yeah,
but it was after you lost the rudder, that long starboard that you both had from halfway down. Yeah. They hooked up into something wonderful. Yeah,
that was like a glamour shift slash.
Yeah, I don't think we got
it on
footage,
here.
but yeah, they were. You know, they would have been sailing around in 3 knots more, and breeze about 20 degrees left.
Yeah, look pretty good.
It was 500 metres in no time.
Yeah, that's sailing though, right?
Yeah,
and they certainly did well. Louis, before we move on to the next clip, in between races, Robbie Wilson was asked on comms because their coach said, "Oh, we think they're on a slightly small mainsail," and Robbie was very political and said, "Oh no, we're happy with our mainsail choice here." But as soon as we pulled alongside you guys, you're like, Fred's mainsail change immediately in between races.
Yeah, but I mean the wind did drop in between races.
Agreed.
I mean, I don't know. What do you reckon? It was.
Yeah, well, we were supposed to hedge down by a knot, weren't we? And we were like, "Oh, we'll just go safe and put the big main up."
Yeah.
Well, it was the right thing for the second race for sure.
Yeah.
Whether or not we should have been on it in the first one.
Place, yeah. And that slick mainsail change by our Chase 2 Ninjas. Here's a question for you both. Would we have won that race if we hadn't changed mainsails? Dills?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Jazz, yeah.
Why not, Jazz?
Well, the rudder's less likely to go, isn't it, with the smaller mains? So.
Right. Okay. Yeah, there were rudder nerves, but as Giles said, we've seen everyone battling rudder washouts in this kind of sea state light stuff. So race 2 had a nice reset in between the races. Like, pressure was on, let's be honest. Like, to come in today, if we were only leading 4-3 with them with a bit of sporting momentum, this was a big race for us in the big scheme of things. And I personally really enjoyed A, how quickly we got the mainsail change done with minimum fuss, and B, the kind of reset in between races, Giles, which you're a big part of, jumping on the boat and coming in from the outside and resetting the tone.
Yeah.
I know you'll be self-deprecating here and say nothing, but
well, I was on Chase 4 today with Robbie. Previous days I've been on Chase 2, which is a bit more of the action man boat.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do get a bit of a different perspective from it, and obviously when you jump on between races, everyone's a bit gutted. Those that aren't racing, you know, myself included as well. But you know, the likes of Dylan and all on board kind of bear the brunt of that. And yeah, you know, heads were down a little bit, but
not for long.
Nothing too drastic.
No, absolutely.
There's a few little tweaks to make, a few little changes, things to try and work on with those losses of rudders, and came out swinging for the second one.
Yeah, as always, to prove that we are live, the dogs are out here and barking now the rain has stopped, but that's how we roll. Dills, into race 2, port entry again.
Yeah, and I guess what doesn't show in these light, tricky conditions is actually how difficult it is just to line the entry up, and we were a click early. I haven't actually managed to see how early we were. I sort of remember turning down and thought, like, before we were safe on the tactical lap, but in the end we weren't, so we picked up an early entry penalty, which effectively means we have to get behind them after the gun, so we quickly chose to start on port.
Yeah, and that for me was massive. As soon as it was communicated to us that we had the early entry penalty, stuff happens, but then 2 seconds after that there was just a real calm conversation about the plan. It was like, right, that's not worked, plan B, this is what's going to happen. And that was good. It reset everyone straight away and recognised that we were going to, as you say, start on port and launch out to the right hand side.
Yeah, and with the the penalties in these yachts, with it being 75 metres in sort of light winds, if you reach, you get a real charge on, and so it's not as big a penalty as I think it is in other conditions.
Right,
and we actually managed to get them at the first cross.
Yeah, so the first upwind, I mean, there was port starboard crosses, dial downs, all kinds of action going on, right? But for me, the biggest moment in the race was, I think it was in this beat, the last dial down at the top of the beat where they were laying for a right-hand turn and we were on starboard, and we did not aggressive, we just did a dial down that put them below ley line for that right-hand turn. That felt like a big moment in the race.
Yeah, I think that hurt them quite a lot. It forced an extra manoeuvre and that they had to follow us. Trying to, you've got to be careful with the dial down. You've got to make sure that you don't do it too late and you give them enough room to avoid. But it seems we judged it well enough today.
And Giles, we then got to the windward gate. The breeze, as I looked down, was below 8 knots, I think. And you instantly, we'd done 1 or 2 jibes in between races just to kind of refine technique and try and avoid the rudder washout again. But every jibe felt massive, to be honest.
It looked massive. It was certainly, kind of a bit fingernaily for sure.
Yeah.
And there's still a few near misses on some of those downwinds in that second race as well. So yeah, there's a bit for us to look at there and rectify for sure, but did enough though.
And halfway through that second downwind, the middle downwind, they came down with a nice little vein of pressure and took 200 metres out of us in a heartbeat. So just as our cyclors were beginning to go, we might just go foot off the pedal here, that certainly wasn't the case. It was race back on.
That wasn't the case for you today, though, was it?
No,
it was a workout for you guys.
Yeah, it's a workout, and a shout out to all the cyclors around here. We know that we know that under 10 knots of breeze, with the amount of traveller movement and the big mast rotations, and not getting a chance to recover in a straight line because you little oil thieves are twiddling your knobs so much. I'm sure everyone's enjoying a pasta and maybe a leg rub tonight. So yeah, it was hard work, but we went on to get that all-important win, and it felt like a big win because we won the race, we won the series 5-2, and move on.
As you said earlier, the timing of it is massive because you win 5-2, and on a score sheet it looks a lot kinder to you as the winner, and it wouldn't have taken much.
No.
To be 4-3, and then 4-3 is all on.
Tomorrow, right?
It's all on.
Yeah, and as we will see, I believe in the other semi-final. But it was a nice moment of relief. That's me slapping Matt Roster on the back there, thanking him for dragging me around the racecourse, as he always does. So yeah, a nice win. We're into the Louis Vuitton Cup final, chaps, for the second time. We were in the last cycle, and we know that we have a lot of work to do between now and the start of racing a week on Thursday, Giles.
Yeah, a week on Thursday. So yeah, the game rolls on, and we're all obviously feeling very happy with ourselves sat here. Managed to make it through to the LV final, which is amazing, but we've still got a lot of work to do.
Absolutely, and we referenced 2 shows ago that the America's Cup has a magical way of slapping you in the face, and I think that, I'm not saying that's going on in the semi-final, but there's some magical sport going on over there that will conclude tomorrow, and everyone tune in to watch that. American Magic obviously won both races today, having been 4-0 down. It's 4-3 still to Prada, but going into a 2-race day tomorrow where all bets are off.
Yeah, and it looks reasonably similar condition-wise, I think, and the Americans were sailing just fine today, weren't they? So it's game on.
And we'll see if the Italians manage to
fix their traveller. Yeah,
they had an issue with that second race, so
yeah,
a very busy night for the shore crew for Prada, but they're tough cookies, Giles, as we know, and we're sure they'll be out racing tomorrow.
I think everyone hopes that they get out there and get to race it off.
Yeah.
Right, Dills, question for you here. I feel like this is specifically aimed at you. A question from Matthew Harding. Why is it so important to be on the button entering the start box? Is this advantage worth risking a penalty for?
Well, I don't think it is worth risking a penalty for, no.
Well played, Matthew Harding.
He's got you.
Yeah, there's a bit of
middle stumps out the ground.
Yeah, certainly a little misjudgment. But yeah, unfortunately, I'll look into that. But yeah, I've got to bear that one.
Oh, fair enough. Well done, mate. Oh, from Peter Jones.
Peter Jones.
Jonesy.
Oh, wow.
Oh, what is the point? What is the point of everybody peddling their guts up while Cornish has got his head up having a look around?
That's for you, Fred, isn't it?
Cornish gets a bit seasick.
Yeah, Cornish has to look at the horizon because if he gets his head down in a hot, sweaty environment like that, he gets seasick. Yeah. So we've told him, yeah, and we just said, look, Cornish, if you feel a bit queasy, get some fresh air on your face. And he wears the old bands, doesn't he? The seasickness bands, and has the patch behind his ear to help him get through the day. A question, Jonesy, great question. Vince B, what does the spares look like on the boat, and would we include things like travellers and big expensive kit like that? Giles, you've done a lot of rolling in Chase 2 with the Ninjas.
Yeah.
There is a lot of spares on there. There's not an inch spare.
We carry a lot of gear, and there's a lot of spares equipment. Well, as much spares equipment as we can carry ultimately, and also a lot of safety gear, salvage equipment. The chase boats are fully loaded, but we don't carry a spare traveller. And I'd imagine, I'm sure, obviously, the Italians don't either. And the time taken to change a bit of equipment like that is hours. So there's really no point.
And Giles, a perfect opportunity to shout out, we come ashore and everyone says well done to the sailing team, but it's not the sailing team. We just get the privilege of racing the last 20 minutes. Shout out to the Chase 2 Ninjas, the Wider Shore team, the Perth team, the designers, the engineers. Like, I'm not wrapping this up like it's a big monumental moment, but like the Chase 2 guys today with that late mainsail change, late jib change, and they're our wall of calm as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the Perth guys, the Lucas of the world that were on the other, was it last night or a couple of nights ago? Yeah, we're a big engine, and we're all just little cogs within that engine. There's a lot that goes into an America's Cup team, and takes a lot of people.
Right, and the final question from Air: how do you even say that? How do you say that name? That's a lot of vowels. But a lot of questions from a fan is saying, "Watch out, Freddie, because soon this little man, the Ineos figure, might take my place." And not a story for now, but that figure it's a traditional Barcelona figure, and they make lots of famous people in the world going to the toilet, let's say. And it's not a story for now, but that's quite apt today, for reasons we won't go into, myself personally. Right, so chaps, Giles, the next week, as you said, Thursday, we're back at it. The start gun goes for the Louis Vuitton Cup final.
Yeah,
what does the next
Thursday,
What does the next week look like, chap?
We've got I suppose the privilege of being through before either the US or the Italians.
And that's going to be must watch tomorrow for sailing fans.
So we'll certainly be watching that.
Yeah.
Concluded tomorrow, right? 2 races,
Yeah.
2 races.
So the USA need to win them both. Prada need to get one away.
And then for us, it's make sure the boat's nicely looked after in the shed, nice and reliable, and then we're into training days and the final run into the start of racing on Thursday.
Kind of feels nice that we'll actually get some training days in,
Yeah.
Feels like it's been one thing after another. So.
Yeah, lacking. Although we did have a little half-hour sail after the race today to test some stuff. That's where we're at. That I loved. We finished the race, got to the LV final and did half an hour yachting because we were disappointed with a few bits and bobs and wanted to prove it out before we had a day off. Yeah. And I think that's very representative of the group that we have here, although the cyclists were cursing you guys for that, just so you know. Right, I think that sums us up, as they say. A great day here for us at Ineos Britannia. As we said at the top of the show, full respect to Alinghi. They were fierce competitors, more than people were letting on in their kind of sailing forum chat, and some of the questions we were getting in, we knew that was going to be a battle. And that last race today, if we had lost that, all bets it'd have been squeaky bum time for everyone going into tomorrow. So we'll park the show there, and you will join us for our first debrief on Thursday night, as we will have done the first 2 races of the Challenger Series final. So join us then.